This turned out so freaking cool. I've never done any sort of sculpted work before, and wow, so awesome. And I really wish you could see it right now. This figured maple that I used just is unbelievable. You'll be able to see it later though, because I've got some plans in store for this. But you figure out what this is yet? My guess is you haven't. This is the computer avatar for Oracle. So you may be asking yourself, who the heck is Oracle? And I completely understand. So you may not have heard of Oracle, but you have heard of Oracle. Yeah. Oracle's other name is Batgirl. And even people who are not comic book fans know Batgirl. They may not know who Batgirl is, but they've heard of Batgirl. Batgirl became Oracle. And how that happened was Cliff Notes version for people who do not know this story. Comic book writer Alan Moore, one of the most famous comic book writers of all time, wrote a story in 1988 called The Killing Joke. And it was a Joker-centric story. And in the story, the Joker knocks on the door of Police Commissioner James Gordon's house, and his daughter Barbara opens the door. And when she does, Joker shoots her through her into her spine and paralyzes her. Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. They paralyzed Barbara Gordon. That means they got rid of Batgirl. So there were a couple writers who this did not sit well. They were like, we can't have this. We got to do something about it. So what they did was they reinvented her. As you would assume, you get paralyzed, you go from swinging over rooftops to needing help just to get into a car. She grew depressed and angry and didn't know her place in life. And then she had this dream. And in the dream, she was wearing her Batgirl costume, but she was in ancient Greece. And there was a woman that was standing there, and she was wearing this mask. And she said that her name was Oracle, and essentially told Barbara Gordon that she needs to find herself. And then when Oracle took off her mask, it was Barbara Gordon underneath the mask. So after that, she kind of made it a priority to reinvent herself and figure out how can she still be a superhero. So what she did was she ended up being a computer hacker, and Oracle ended up being the intelligence analyst for all of DC Comics. She is the linchpin that connects everyone together. So I love the story of Oracle for multiple reasons, but one of them is that she's a really cool, empowering female superhero, and I think that's awesome, and we need more of those. And another thing is that she's an empowering disabled superhero, and that's just freaking awesome. There's really barely any standing. This whole thing is really, really smooth. It's just in the grooves here. There's a couple little spots that I want to sand, but other than that, this whole thing is baby butt smooth. So I found this piece of artwork of Oracle's computer avatar. So she has a little face that shows up that can talk for her, and it looks like this. And somebody had posted a picture, kind of a clip art type picture on DeviantArt. So I'll link that down in the description below so you can see the original artist's work. I just thought it was a really killer drawing that they made. So I took that and I figured out, how do I make that into a 3D model so I can make it into a sculpture? So I took it, I did a lot of modification, broke it into pieces, figured out heights and that kind of stuff. What do I want raised? What do I want sunken down? And I came up with this, and I think it looks pretty dope, but you know, that's just me. That's looking pretty killer. Okay, so here's my plan. I wasn't just gonna do a CNC project. We need to do something else with this, even though this looks really cool. So since this is a computer avatar, her avatar is usually green. So what I have here is some General Finishes green dye stain. I really like dye stains, especially on woods like maple, pine, woods that really do a crappy job at accepting stain. They do a pretty good job at accepting dye. It's much thinner, it penetrates into it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dye this beautiful figured maple bright green. it's gonna look cool. After we have a green avatar face, then I'm gonna put it on a Batgirl symbol plaque. So what I need to do is I need to, I think I'm gonna use walnut. All right, hold on. Figured maple, same piece of maple this came from. Look at that green. That is awesome, okay? So put this up against the walnut. That looks cool too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some walnut. I am going to make a giant Batgirl logo out of walnut. I'm gonna put her green face right in the center of that. Okay, Oracle's face is done being sanded, and now I'm going to dye it green. So this is what I do whenever I'm applying dye to wood. First thing is I'm gonna pop the grain. Water. This is a bottle of distilled water. And the reason why I want to use this is because this is water-based. So I don't want to necessarily apply this straight to the wood without popping the grain, because then we would have a raised grain effect, and I want to minimize that as much as possible. So what I'll do is water it, let it dry for a minute, do a light sanding over that, then apply my dye. Ooh. Oh, you start to see that figure come alive. I'm gonna apply some dye to the back too, even though you won't see it. And the reason why is because, from my experience, if you apply a water-based dye to one surface of a board, but not the other surface, it can cup and bow and twist. So I wanna have equal waterdom, equal wetness, all the way around. Okay, Oracle, dry for a second. All right, I'm back. This is dry. I hit it with some 180 grit just to knock any of the raised grain down so it is smooth again. Now it's time to apply dye, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. Now, there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could spray it, which I don't do. No particular reason except that I'm lazy. You could put it in a spray bottle and squirt it. That's one way that some people do it. I'm gonna go foam brush style. I am super excited about this. Let's stir this up nice and good. So if you've never used dye before, it's not like stain. Instead, treat it like just, in this case, green water. So imagine just pouring water on your project. You're gonna wanna work fairly quick with it. You don't wanna stay in one particular spot for too long because then it just soaks in there. You wanna go quickly over the whole thing. Make sure you get nice even coverage. Now you're gonna see this maple pop. Oh, looks like tiger stripes. That is so cool. It's almost got like a camouflage look to it. I think I could take this and change it and make it look like the Predator's face. Note to self. Predator mask. So you see, I'm just working pretty quick. Try not to let it dry in one particular area too much, and making sure I don't miss any spots. You don't have to really work it into the grain. I'm just moving the water around, and then any of the extra I'm trying to soak up with the other part of my foam brush. This is so awesome. All my projects are gonna be green now. That's so awesome. Okay, and the backside too. This piece of maple I cut with my chainsaw mill. It was a maple tree in somebody's front yard a couple miles from my house, and it was planted way too close to the house. The roots were becoming invasive, so they had to cut it down. The new owners had to cut it down. And before it was burned, I ran over there, grabbed it, cut this guy up. The good thing about dye stain too is you don't have to wait days for it. It's not an oil-based stain. So in a couple hours, I could top coat this if I want to. So while this is drying, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start prepping some boards. I'm gonna cut some walnut down, mill it, and glue it together so that we can make our Batgirl logo. I cut out a template on my CNC, really digging this, and I got lucky. I found a piece of walnut in my shop that is big enough for the entire thing, so I don't have to do a glue up. So double win for me. Now, some of you CNC enthusiasts are gonna say, why would you cut out a whole template whenever you could have just cut out the whole bat logo and the walnut? Because I feel like doing it this way. Leave your disgust in the comment below. Check it out, I got a bat. Looks really cool. I put a keyhole slot in the back here so that I have a mounting screw that I can screw into the wall. And then we have our face. So the plan is to glue the face here in the middle of the bat. And then what's gonna be awesome is I'm gonna do a satin finish over this because I don't want anything that's too shiny with the lights in the shop. And whenever I do, all of this is just gonna come to life with color. New day in the shop. I let it dry overnight. That is really cool. So, time to apply finish. I'm gonna go really simple. I'm gonna do a wipe on poly that is satin. Again, like I said before, I want the satin just so that it doesn't have too much of a sheen whenever it's on my wall. And I'm going with this because I have it in my shop and I need to use it all up. I'm gonna take care of the edges first. Dip, 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 dip. Oh. I always love that first coat of finish. You really get to see your work come to life. I do have a video on how to apply wipe-on varnishes. So if you've never tried this method before and you want to give it a shot and you want to know where to start, then you can check out that video. I will link it above. It'll be up here somewhere. You can click on it. There were a couple knots over here and over here that whenever I cut it out, it cut through those knots. So what I did was I used some black CA glue to fill those. And I just like the look of black CA glue to fill voids on walnut. The black and the brown just really looks cool. So you don't have to always avoid those spots. Make them part of the feature. Okay, now is the exciting time. We're gonna make all of this pop here. Oh yeah, that green just really gets more vibrant. Get inside her dome piece here. Very happy with that. Oh, that's good. let it dry, and then we'll see if I need any more coats. I don't know. It might be good the way it is, and whenever it is good, I'll hang it on the wall. Well, that was a fun project. Definitely not something that I would expect other people to want to make, but hopefully I was able to use a couple techniques that may kind of get your creative juices flowing for your own projects. So if you did like this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell notification so you'll be alerted the next time I post a video. And till we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome. I gotta fix my pad. Fix my pad. Pad fixing.